Welcome to the PathMonk Presents podcast. My name is Sean Donnelly Lewis, and I'm super excited about today's episode. We have James Creech. He's the co-founder and CEO at Measure.studio. James, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sean. Excited to be here.
Okay, I have no idea what you guys do. So why don't you just inform me?
Sure. So Measure Studio is a social analytics tool. My co-founder and I have years of experience working in the influencer marketing and digital media space. And what we found is there weren't really good social analytics tools out there, right? There's social publishing, there's social listening tools, but oftentimes really in-depth analytics or business intelligence is a bit of an afterthought. And so 2 years ago, we had this initial idea and started going around talking to our friends at broadcasters, studios, digital publishers, and just asking, hey, how are you solving this problem? How do you figure out what content's working? How do you inform your content strategy? And the answers that came back were either, we do things with native platform analytics, which, range from fairly robust with something like YouTube analytics to pretty limited or non-existent on newer platforms like Instagram or TikTok, to, hey, we build our own databases and we use SQL to, connect everything and then pipe all of that into Domo or Tableau, these traditional BI applications, which are incredibly powerful, but tend to be very expensive and difficult to maintain. So we said, okay, clearly there's an opportunity here. We want to help everyone from individual solopreneurs and creators to small businesses to the world's biggest broadcasters, studios, publishers, understand how their content's doing and what they can do to improve so that they can grow audience, viewership, and revenue.
Great. So you touched on a little bit of clientele. So how many clients you guys have, or maybe you could even go into some particular clients that you have, big, small, mom and pop. I don't know.
It really ranges. Yeah. So we've helped individual influencers who wanted to answer basic questions like, I want to figure out when people stop paying attention to my Instagram stories, right? And they've discovered that, hey, after say 10 posts in a given series, people kind of tune out and flip on to the next story. Or it could be some of the biggest publishers in the world, like Group 9 Media, IGN. We've recently partnered with FaZe Clan, which is the leading esports team, to help them understand their owned and operated content, as well as their talent analytics. So it's a wide range of folks. I would say, I guess, the best case study we have is we powered all the social media analytics and in-depth business intelligence for the Biden-Harris presidential campaign. So
Very cool.
Last year, we worked really closely with their digital team to help measure the social performance of all of the content they were putting out and figuring out, hey, what is really getting our message out there, what's driving voter registration and turnout. And that was an incredible thing to be a part of.
Yeah, seemed like it probably worked. They won the election.
Well, for a very, very small part of that. But yes, as you could see, like during the pandemic, digital campaigning and social media tactics were more important than ever, right? And so they had to rely on understanding what their audience was looking for, being very quick and responsive and churning out social posts that were clearly, driving engagement and driving audience interest.
Yeah. So your company, how are you guys growing? How are you guys acquiring new clients? Is it basically word of mouth or digital marketing, SEO? What would be some of the avenues that you guys use?
Yeah, all of the above, right? So it's a blend of sales and marketing. On the sales side, it's largely hand-to-hand combat, right? It's our relationships, it's introductions, it's going to some of these bigger media companies that we've worked with historically and trying to say, hey, can we help make your lives easier? And what are the problems that you're facing today? And then on the marketing side, it's absolutely content marketing. It's getting referrals from existing customers or our platform partners, and then trying to find ways that we can solve problems even for these small individual influencers or these small to medium businesses.
And what role does your website play in all of that?
Yeah, the website is really the front door. So it's the primary kind of destination where we're driving people. We want them to understand, hey, this is the value proposition. You can come to Measure.studio and figure out what we're all about. There are, examples of the customers we work with. There's an easy, hey, no credit card required, just sign up for a 2 free week trial, take it for a test spin, see what you think. And then there's, a breakdown of these are the various offerings that we present for different types of customers, as well as across different social media platforms. So say, what are the advantages we offer over native platform analytics across YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat today, which are the 5 core platforms we support at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So what would be some of those strengths, right? I mean, you already named some of them, but in your eyes as CEO, what are the things that you'd be proud of about the website?
Sure. Well, again, highlighting, some of the differences that we present over other solutions. One of those biggest things is benchmarking hourly data for the first 3 days, right? So that first kind of 72-hour window is critical when posting a new piece of content to social media to understand, that early performance trajectory and say, hey, is this resonating? Great. How do we continue to put fuel behind it? Or, hey, something about this just isn't working. What can we tweak? What can we improve or modify to do better the next time, right? And also that first kind of 3-day window is when content gets indexed for search. So if you want to boost your organic discovery, you want your content to do well out of the gate. So that's probably number one. Number two is automated benchmarking. So, we don't want to just give people a pile of numbers and say, hey, figure it out. It's very clear and intuitive. We have, color coded kind of symbols and labels within the tool. Green is good, red is bad. So you can easily figure out, okay, these types of posts are doing above average. What is it about this content that people clearly seem to like? Why is engagement over indexing? Why are the impressions or, why is CPM on video content doing really well and monetizing effectively? We want people to be able to easily unravel those questions.
Great. Yeah, I'm looking at the website right now. It looks really beautiful. The color scheme, it's very pleasant. But put your critical hat on for a moment, right? Like obviously in marketing, there's always room for improvement. So if you're going to be critical for a minute, what would be some of the things that you feel like, okay, this could be an improvement area for us?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's a lot more we could do with the site. One thought we've had is to publish more case studies, right? So how do we showcase the learnings and experience from other customers? I'd like us to also implement, maybe some audits where you can say, hey, quickly check my social media content performance so I can quickly get a sense of where can I most improve or what's the ROI of using a tool like Measure Studio. So those are things I'd like us to incorporate into the site in the future.
Very cool. Very cool. So coming back around to what you guys do, the service that you guys provide, what would be the main competitive advantage to what you guys do?
Yeah. Aside from just aggregating everything in one place, because social media data tends to be so siloed, right? It's apples to oranges trying to compare how did my content do on Snapchat versus Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, the automated benchmarking, the easy post comparisons, and then truly kind of getting to the heart of what content is working and what's not, right? That's the core utility of the tool is, visually and immediately you can see these types of posts are doing well. How do we lean into that, create more content like that? And then conversely, what's just missing the mark and how do we improve from there?
Yeah. And so looking at the company in more of like a brass tack structural way, what would be, yeah, how would sales and marketing be structured for what you guys do?
Yeah. So we have a direct sales team that focuses on, going out to customers and telling them about Measure Studio and trying to get them interested in how we can help, right? Learning about their pain points. What are you using today? If it's, native platform analytics, it often tends to be, accompanied by Airtable or Excel and a lot of kind of spreadsheet jockeying. Or, there's people who've got these really expensive, robust internal systems, but it's difficult and costly to maintain. There's headcount and time, resources that get sucked into just kind of maintaining all that infrastructure. And so if we can take that off their plate and then supercharge the analytics that they're able to use, our goal is how do we help you move the needle? So yes, we want to simplify these. Yes, efficiency is the name of the game, but it's also about ROI, right? What can we do that helps you grow your audience, which then leads to you doing either more branded content or growing your ad revenue or commerce opportunities. We want to kind of build that flywheel of constant audience engagement and audience growth around your social media presence.
Yeah. And so you guys have, I don't know if I could put it in kind of normal sales and marketing terms. You guys have somebody who's interested in using your service. What does that look like between the sales and marketing team? What's that handoff like?
So most people who would just come to the website come in through the marketing funnel, right? They heard about Measure Studio through our social media posts or content, things like this podcast. They can go to the site and try out themselves. If they like it, I mean, they're off to the races under your credit card and you can just start using the tool. If it's a larger account where they need more of a custom solution or they have thorny data problems that they're trying to get to the bottom of, and we can be helpful, right? Then jump on a call with someone from our sales team. We'll walk you through, hey, this is how to get the most value out of Measure Studio. And also, let's just learn a little bit more about what you're doing today. Is that something that we already solved for? Is that something that we can add to the product roadmap to continue to improve upon what we offer today? And then what solutions are available through Measure Studio to solve those problems.
Okay. And so we're just going to switch gears here for a second. Um, you as a leader, right? Kind of content do you consume to continue to grow as a professional, as a person? What would be some things that you consume?
Yeah. Well, I love podcasts. I've been podcasting myself for over 6 years, so love the format, and it's a fun way to just learn as much as possible from some other really, really great folks. I try to read a lot, both the trades, so I follow, primarily TechCrunch, TubeFilter, which is relevant in our industry, Business Insider, and then just kind of scan Google News every day. And I'm typically posting some of my insights or the things that I'm seeing on LinkedIn to folks that I engage with. And then, we share a lot of stuff on social media. But yeah, I would say those are probably the primary resources: short form, kind of trade press, long form books and resources, articles that people send my way. And then, of course, leaning into the podcasts, and also just like learning from places like Clubhouse, right? Spending a lot of time on Clubhouse at the moment, trying to connect with other entrepreneurs or people in the digital media and marketing space to say, hey, what are you seeing? What's working for you? And what kind of tools and tips can you share?
Yeah. Yeah, sounds great. We're slowly coming to the end of the interview, but it's about to heat up, James. We're going to enter into our rapid fire section. I'm just going to mercilessly throw questions at you, and you're going to have to fend them off with your ninja skills. How does that sound?
Sounds awesome. Let's do it.
All right. What is the last book that you read?
Wow. The last book that I finished was called Crucial Conversations. And I do some coaching. So I work with first-time founders and entrepreneurs who are working and growing their businesses. And as we know, right, emotional intelligence is one of the most important characteristics. So I was reading a book about that. It kind of helps me in my coaching practice.
Great. What was the single thing that your company's focused on at the moment?
For Measure Studio, I would say it's growing awareness and increasing the customer base.
If there were no boundaries in technology, what would be the one thing you would want to have fixed in your company?
Wow, in our company. Okay. I think it's probably around just empowering our team, right? The biggest challenge I think every entrepreneur faces is how to get great people. And we're fortunate to have built an amazing team with Measure Studio. But my goal as a leader is, how do I get these people excited and engaged in it every day to make sure they're having fun, and then also make sure that they're challenged and they feel like they have a really incredible professional environment where we're just removing obstacles from their success. So, always looking for more tools or more technical resources to help kind of identify, hire, train, and retain those amazing contributors.
What was the last thing that kept you awake at night about your company? It could be a good thing. We've had people that say, oh, we're just so excited, we're killing it, there's so much that I could do, we're just dreaming. But I prefer the normal approach, right? The honest approach where it says, okay, here's something worrying or something that we're working on.
For sure. And I was going to say, I wish that was what came to mind, but I'm going to be brutally honest, right? I think the things that tend to keep me up at night are always worrying about, hey, what's that thing that I have to tackle first thing tomorrow? And for us, it's probably like with any business, when you're building in someone else's backyard, which for us is, leveraging the social media platforms, we have a big dependency on it. It's something we've been, living with for years, having come from, the influencer marketing space and, building tools that solve those pain points as well. But it's very much, if not more, the case for the social media analytics through Measure Studio. And, really the only solution is to kind of be nimble and stay ahead of it, but it's constantly, changing APIs or, endpoints in those APIs and documentation and, requirements. And so there's a lot that we just have to do to kind of maintain, what we're doing with our social platform partners, and then also just how to present that information to customers. So I'll give you a concrete example. This week, we've been wrestling with the fact that periodically Facebook, Twitter, other platforms will purge traffic, right? I mean, it's probably no surprise, but there's a lot of bot activity. And so if there are fake followers, engagements, viewership, Facebook and Twitter initially, allow that to happen, that those numbers come in, but they're periodically auditing that and then removing it. So you see the API will report positive values and then negative values, which is odd, right? There shouldn't be negative impressions against a piece of content or negative viewership, but that's happening because they're invalidating this artificial traffic that may have occurred previously. So we're trying to cope with, how do we account for that? Or should we show, we want to, of course, tell people, hey, this is the raw data we're getting from the APIs, and here's why that happens. And then, maybe here's a smooth graph to also show you what the trajectory could look like if we were accounting for, these swings and these differences on a normalized range.
Crazy. What is the one advice if you were to start over? Let's just say your professional career, right? Because you're kind of doing the thing with right now. But if you were to start over, what would be the one piece of advice you give yourself?
I think the biggest thing that we missed early on was, that we tried to do too much. So I always tell entrepreneurs, go deep before you go wide, right? Really nail that one thing, be the best in the world at that. That will help clarify your messaging, makes marketing easier, helps tell the story, but then it also keeps you laser focused on this is what we do, this is what we don't do. And it's okay to maybe expand to those things in the future, or to refer them to someone else, or just clearly disclaim, hey, this is not what we're about. Which we've really tried to embody in Measure Studio. We constantly get asked for things where we're like, that's great, that there needs to be a solution for that, but that's not what we're up to. Or, hey, there already are existing tools for audience development or for, social listening, right? And here's where you can find them. So that's what I'm trying to be better about, is just nailing that one thing and then growing from there.
Yep, sounds good. Well, we always give our guests the last word on the show. You could talk about what you guys do, or you could say whatever you want within reason. Yeah, we'll just let you have the floor. The floor is yours. You have the last word, James.
Well, thanks, Sean. I would say for everyone listening, appreciate your time. I always love connecting with new folks. So please, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I'm James Creech. If you want to learn more about Measure Studio, feel free to check us out at measure.studio. You can sign up for a 2-week free trial. No strings attached. Go for it. We'd love your feedback on the product. And finally, if you like conversations like this with entrepreneurs, happy to have you listen into my podcast called All Things Video, where I interview, leaders and executives in the digital media space.
Cool. That was James Creech. Check him out, measure.studio. James, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks so much, Sean. Great to chat with you.